as real estate agents, we're out in the field, right? So when there's something pressing, like I tell my wife, the biggest supporter of the business, right? Our spouses, our family that help us. But it's a time sensitive business. Seconds matter in this business. And if there's documents not being sent out because you're showing property and you can't get that till 6 p.m., well, unfortunately, you should have had that support, right? That team that helps you facilitate these deals from contract to close.
Welcome to the Dream Home Podcast, the show where real estate meets real talk. Hosted by John Nagle, a seasoned expert with over $7 billion in real estate financing experience. This podcast features top realtors, builders, and financial pros. Whether you're buying, selling, or investing, we've got the tools to help you make smarter moves. Here's your host, John Nagle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Dream Home Podcast, where we explore the communities, people, and programs that help turn your dream of homeownership into reality. I'm your host, John Nagle from CMG Home Loans. Today, I'm thrilled to be talking with Rene Bartum, Managing Partner of Next Generation Realty of Marion County and leader of Zillow's #1 premier agent team in Ocala, 34481 zip code. Rene has built an award-winning team serving communities like Calissa Township, Del Webb Stone Creek, On Top of the World, Oak Run, and Palm Cay, helping buyers and sellers navigate the real estate process with confidence and exceptional service. In this episode, we'll explore what makes Rene's team stand out, how they're helping clients every step of the way, and some powerful insights for buyers and sellers in today's market. Rene, welcome to the Dream Home Podcast. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. So, Rene, let's kick things off with a big one. What makes you and your team stand out in Ocala's real estate market? Why are people choosing Next Generation Realty?
Yeah, so two-part question. What makes what makes me and my team? I'd say myself, John, is that I've been through adversity. I know what it is to have some cash in the bank and know that in 3 months that cash is burnt up. Getting into a new industry, 6 months no interest credit cards. So I can relate to agents through their adversity and really just share what I've done to elevate myself in the business. And that's really with structure, right? Putting pen to paper and understanding which direction my business wants to go. And we've been very blessed. Like, if you can say in 6 months' time what we've done in 6 months, I wouldn't have thought about it. But in the other spectrum, I'd say the team itself, NGR is specific because we got a great partnership with Zillow. We thrive with it. We're actually a flex partner, and we take care of most of Central Florida and Southwest part of Florida. But that relationship, that partnership that we have really attracts a lot of clients and customers to work with us.
I love that. And what's the #1 thing people are always asking for your help with?
Well, I'd say this, that in real estate wise, on agent side, and then we'll talk about buyers and sellers.
Sure.
So on the agent level, is just trying to figure out where their business is going. Like, when you wake up, what's the purpose? Like, what does my day-to-day look like? Like, business plan. I was a GM at a real estate school, and I knew very early on that we had to have structure in this business, because we can just wake up and, like today it is, hey, let's go hit the beach or let's go to the golf course. But my real estate coach told me way many moons ago, and I say this, I've been in the industry, August 2025 will be 3 whole years that I've been in it. But my real estate coach that I had said, hey, what's difficult? What's more difficult? Telling your wife that you can't pay the mortgage, or making some cold calls to see where your next deal's coming up, right? So that's really what really attract a lot of agents to work for me, because people work for people, right? And regarding the buyers and sellers out there, is just, what's the solution to their problem? Like, how can we get them to their next steps with the least friction and the least amount of stress, so that they can fulfill the rest of their lives in a different location, or this location, if that's the case.
Absolutely. So buying or selling a home can be a stressful process. How do you help clients feel confident and supported during their journey?
Yeah, and that's a great question. We train here at NGR that the real estate agent has a certain portion of the entire process, and that's really establishing the relationship, sharing the value add of what this industry will be, what the location, what the product will be in the next 2 to 5 years or 10 to 15, whatever that customer's plan might be. And that's really what the value add is. But more so, we have a team that really supports the deal from start to finish, meaning transaction coordinators, that are very attentive. Communication is really key, and letting the customer know there's nothing for you to do at this time. Like, our next step is when I reach out to you and tell you exactly what we should be doing to get to the closing table. So having that team, that structure that allows the real estate agent to focus on establishing those businesses or those relationships themselves, being attentive to any questions that they have. But on the back end, with our transaction coordinators, which all of our deals carry a transaction coordinator from contract to close. And that's really where the bigger support comes in. There's a lot of automations also as to what their next steps looks like. So really painting what John Ward, a book here, a $1 Million Real Estate podcast, which I've been listening to, is painting the context before the content. Like really emphasizing and explaining what that next step looks like before just telling them what that next step looks like. And that's really the bigger key, is the communication portion of how we're servicing our customers that way.
Yeah, that transaction management is really key in letting the customer know, here's what the steps are, here's what you need to be doing now or not need to be doing now. We're taking care of it and kind of managing the process, because there's so much involved between title and mortgage and all these different components. Not to mention, sometimes you have things that you're depending on from the listing agent, for example. Or if you are the listing agent, you have responsibilities to help make things all happen that were in the purchase agreement. So very important part of the steps to manage all that properly.
And following that, John, look, as real estate agents, we're out in the field, right? So when there's something pressing, like I tell my wife, the biggest supporter of the business, right? Our spouses, our family that help us. But it's a time-sensitive business. Seconds matter in this business. And if there's documents not being sent out because you're showing property and you can't get that till 6 p.m., well, unfortunately, you should have had that support, right? That team that helps you facilitate these deals from contract to close.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you tell us a story of a client who faced challenges and how you or your team helped them overcome it?
Yeah, I can tell you this with certainty, John, because I was excited to answer this question. It just happened to us a couple of weeks ago. I'd say two folds here on the listing and buying side. Okay, so as you know, we're a big Zillow partner. We handle over 400 plus calls a month. But on the listing side, because we do have seller leads that Zillow provides through Open Door. This particular seller had a property that was listed for 6 months, 6 whole months. Oh, wow. And beautiful photography, I'd say, was minimal. Here nor there. We went over to her home and we did our listing presentation. And within 1 week's time, because of our showcase product, which is a very cool product that Zillow offers, it basically gets listings on the top of page of Zillow, similar to like Google Ads, PPC. Mm-hmm. And within a week's time, she was able to get a offer on her home. And now, closing here in the next 30 days. Beautiful offer too. But it was just positioning the product in a bigger limelight, I say, so that potential buyers can see the product. So that was one on the listing side. On the buyer side, and this is kind of two folds, is that we were going out to another listing appointment. We already had the buyer. Like Zillow did that for us. The agent had a Rolodex, met with the clients, came in from California and said, we're just going to go back when you find something. Well, the following week, we go to a listing point. She did a video walkthrough, under contract. Like the sellers were extreme. We didn't even come to market on that, John. We didn't even list it up on MLS. It just went under contract. So, I'm screaming Zillow, especially on these two instances, because it just the brand authority and what they provided for buyers and sellers, the experience. is something that is great to be a part of.
Yeah, those are some awesome stories to go from listing our house on the market for that long and to make it happen that quickly. It's just almost
John,
phenomenal.
I'd say that, this market has changed, and you can no longer, now in our market, Florida is a little bit different than other markets, but here specifically talking about this market, you can't be a listing agent and just snap some photos and kick your feet up and wait for calls. Like, what we do, I'll give you an example. If any agents or even potential buyers and stuff, within 60, 90 days, there's no activity. Change up the primary photos, switch up the photos so that the buyers see it a little bit differently, right? A lot of the agents aren't doing that. And it's just a simple little touch to have buyers look at a property a little bit differently. But it irks me. It really irks me when I see a property and it's, 130 days. And I'm like, why are you settling for this type of marketing? Like what's going on? You want to get your home sold, and it's just, so I'm like this with some of those agents because I'm like, shame on you. You should do better if you want to make money. Like you got to be a little bit more proactive in selling properties, but it's unfortunate. But the agents that hopefully are watching this video and maybe joining the brokerage, they now know a little bit difference of getting properties sold.
Yeah, well, it's awesome to have a resource like you that can help them kind of have that third party look at things to help give them direction and little tips like that, which, like you say, it's a simple thing to change the photos. But if you don't think of doing it, then it's not going to create any activity like you're looking for. So
that's true. Yeah, that's right, John. Yeah.
So, Rene, I want to ask you about something awesome. What's one standout experience or accomplishment that really makes you proud?
I'd have to say, John, that the amount of transactions that we've done year to date, being able to sit back and realize how many families I'm physically helping, like the responsibilities to know that they're living better lives because of the roles that I'm doing day to day, to educate them, to train them, to provide them opportunity, is really the biggest highlight, I'd say, in the current journey. Right, is seeing a new agent, being able to write a contract within 30 days, 1 to 3 contracts within 30 days, and saying, hey, this helped me because I was. A lot of agents don't have money, right? They come into business thinking that, hey, I get my real estate license and boom, I'm going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then they jump frog to brokerage, and then they incur these fees. But the mortgage payments and the bills don't stop. So to being able to hear agents saying, look, I've been doing this for 10, 15 years, and I learned more in the past couple months than I have in that time frame. Like, it really tells me that, all by design, by God, that we're doing the right things here at the brokerage to help provide for families to live a great lifestyle, because that's why we're getting into the business, right? A subset of that, John, is, I was a GM at a real estate school, and I saw lots of students come in and, I'm going to get my real estate license for $350 bucks. I'm going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars. But they didn't realize that the license was just the first part, right? There's a bigger game to that. There's a bigger skill set that needs to be established other than just acing the tests. So, I knew quickly on from my experiences past before as to how we wanted to structure NGR. And thanks again, by design and by God, and being blessed where we're at today, having over 600 transactions in a couple months, 2,300 transactions in the past year. Like we're doing really good things here. And it stems from the modules and the process procedures that we have here at NGR.
Well, that's incredible. What motivates you to keep growing and serving at such a high level?
2 parts. I'd say on the growing aspect, it's something in my DNA. Like growing, as my father came over here with $50. He's from Germany and a little broadcast radio, right? And he ingrained into my DNA that work ethic is number one. Consistency and showing up is the number one thing in growing, educational, spiritually, however you want to state the growing aspect of it, you have to show up. And the other part of it, which you shared, was the growing part of it. And what was the other part of the question? Was it
Serving at such a high level, growing and serving at such a high level?
I'd say the serving aspect of it, because I'm a man of faith, it's all, I was designed to train, like to know what I'm doing, and being able to replicate it, teach it to other agents, and seeing them flourish and having great family lifestyles, et cetera, because that's what it is. I mean, producers live a lifestyle, right? Real estate agents just live life, right? When you really want to make 200, 300, $500,000, there's a certain lifestyle that you want to live and that you're attracted to. So I feel that that the second part, other than the growing, is me continuously mentoring and training agents to tell them, hey, you can do this. You can put pen to sheet of paper, which I carry my business plan on the top desk. And I'll even share a video. Right. This was drafted 2.5 years ago, and I had my $1,500. That's all I had in my account. I had a 6 months, no interest credit card, and by design, right? And I documented this. I'll put a link to the video below these comments, but I had a day to day, right? And by following this, I was able to get to where I'm at. So, you just got to put on the blinders, John, and get down to the net and grit. So what's harder, paying the mortgage? You're not, telling your wife you can't pay the mortgage, right? That's kind of goes back to.
Well, that's a great question. And you're not only serving those real estate agents, but that enables them to serve more of their customers, buyers and sellers, which again, it just keeps passing on, right? You're passing on that service. So that's an awesome story. So you and your team are known for leveraging tools that makes things easier for clients. What are some of the resources that you use that really make a difference for buyers and sellers?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to two things. So we have a lot of systems in here. We use AI software, but Zillow itself is becoming what they call a super app. The data that we're collecting from behavioral intent actions that past clients or future clients are doing on Zillow, it allows us to understand that data set and know what intent-based buyers we should be reaching out to, or sellers at that instance. On the AI front, we listen to every single call, and we make sure that you understand what improvements could be done. As an example, John, let's say we take a call on the 16th second, you should have showed more empathy because the tonality stated so. So financing, hey, during the minute and a half, we should have discussed more financing. So the agents are always after every single call, being that they're able to get trained by AI, which we program, right? That's something that we do, and allowed to know on that next call, oh, they told me that I should do this. Okay, let me do that. So creating better behavioral experiences so that the call itself becomes into a met with customer and then submitting offers.
Perfect. And for a buyer looking at communities like Calissa Township or on top of the world, what insider knowledge or tips do you share with clients exploring those neighborhoods?
So 2 parts. I'd say one on the customer side. If you're a buyer or seller thinking of going to a different community, drive into that community and just sit on the street that you plan on purchasing the house on. It really tells you what is going on that neighborhood. That's a big key, I'd say, knowing that. On a buyer or seller wanting to hire someone, you have to know the HOAs in and out. There's a lot of moving parts. If you're trying to purchase a property with an unexperienced agent that has no experience in HOA or never sold a property in there. Great example. We had a property that we were selling, and this is just a tip for all the agents out there, is that you should have within the additional clause or within the additional terms that the seller is responsible for all estoppel, fines, penalizations, and remedy prior to close, right? Well, they failed to do that, and now it's on the buyer's side. Well, unfortunately, it got down to that 2 weeks where the estoppel report came back, the inspection period already went past, and now you have an estoppel fine of $7,500 because the landscaping wasn't done correctly.
Oh, no.
Right? Well, who's at fault here, right? Well, it's the representation that you had for you that you should have had them put on there, but the buyer didn't know that, right? The listing agent, we knew that, but unfortunately, we had a tough time on that deal. We got it to the closing table, but hey, shame on that buyer and shame on that agent that wasn't even in the same county, John. I mean, you've got agents that are utilizing Zillow to flip deals maybe in a different county and say, hey, just go up there and go look at the property. I'll write the contract. We'll save some money on the commission side.
Yeah.
It's not always the case. Not always the case.
Wow, that's a great example of not really kind of knowing what your business is and taking care of the customer. So that's very unfortunate. I'm glad you're able to get the thing worked out finally for your seller.
Yeah.
So let's walk listeners through it, what it's like to work with you and your team from the first call to closing day.
Yeah, great. We teach here to make sure that we share what next steps are for our customers. Now, I train, they're not clients until they write a contract with you, until they say, hey, listen, we are committed to working with you and finding a home with you. Right. But within our Zillow program, we have 7 days. Basically, we have a separate touring agreement, which is a 7-day no-cost touring agreement. Within that 7 days, you're basically getting interviewed to say, hey, is this the agent? Because metrics show 70% of the time, the first agent that a buyer meets with, they're going to buy a home with 70% of the time. So on the initial call, there's a lot of emotions that go on, the state of mind of selling a house, moving, logistics of maybe schools, utilities, etc. It's having a calm voice, but letting them know that there's no further actions that they need to do at this time. So really describing what the next steps are. Mr. Jones, when's the last time you purchased a home? Right? Oh, let me explain to you what an inspection report's going to look like. When should we expect it? Instead of just telling them, hey, you're going to get an inspection report here in the next couple of days to look at the property. But really educating our customers, being zip code focused. What does that mean? Is because we can look at products all day, which is homes online. Mm-hmm. But the true value of what a real estate agent has to offer, other than the competency of looking at construction within a home, is what this area is going to be like in the next 3 to 5 years or 10 to 15 plus. Because I know Del Webb Stone Creek, they're going to cap out at homes at 4,100 homes. I know that Calissa Township has 5,000 homes expected to be built. All right. They're currently at like 1,200 homes. So forecasting, knowing that, look, if I'm going to be investing hundreds of thousands of dollars into this product, right? How can we justify that it is a good, sound investment without knowing what the location is going to be like in the next coming years? And that's what we train our agents. Like, don't sell what real estate is today. Sell real estate of what it's going to be in the next 10, 15 plus years. Because if everybody looks at it for what's today, a deal was never going to be made. Everybody's saying, oh, the bottom isn't done and the prices are going to continue to drop. And you and I know the best time to buy a home is today, especially if it's going to be kept, right, for the durations of periods of a normal homeowner. So,
yeah, absolutely. Well, that's that market specific concentration that you have. That's exactly what is of benefit most to those buyers and sellers, because you know what the market is, you know where it's going. Yeah. You can give them the best advice over that, like you say, that agent that's sending them up to some other county that they've never even visited and say, I'll write the offer for you. That's the worst way you can go about buying a home. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So if someone's on the fence about reaching out, what's the one reason they should give you a call?
The first thing that comes in mind is just Zillow, right? We stream Zillow here, which is just such a great experience, great platform. And we've been hearing great things from the buyer and seller side as, hey, this was so easy. This was a simple process. Thank you so much. Because I think you and I both know some buyers or sellers that say, I would never buy a house right now because this happened way back and my agent didn't do this, or, the house wasn't what we expected, the whole nine. So, knowledge is very important, but becoming an expert in that knowledge is even more important. So we really train here a lot of what zip codes specifically have to offer. There's different demographics in these geographic locations that are in Marion County, which is specific to certain families. And so from an initial conversation, why they would give us a call is we're really a fiduciary to make sure that they have all their questions answered and protected for the best deal, I'd say.
Absolutely. And, your comment about that it is the best time to buy now, I agree with that 100%. Because if you look back a couple of years ago, as you know, there was this multiple offers really on every house. There were escalating offers where I'll pay you up to so much over your asking price for the house. And we're in that position now where buyers have some leverage. Buyers can get seller credits. At CMG, we have a program called Rate Rebound. So for 5 years, we'll lower the interest rate anytime it goes down by 0.5%, as many times as that happens. So the predictions,
nice.
The predictions are that the rates are going to continue to go down. The inflation is in check, gas prices are down, and that's giving them the best of both worlds, really. That they know that they're going to, when the rates do drop, we're going to be there for them and not charge them for putting them in that lower rate. So
that's great.
So
that's great.
So we agree with you 1,000%. Now is the best time to buy, because when rates start dropping, and they are, then all of a sudden you're back in competing with those other buyers, and the prices are going to go up, and it's really a good time to buy.
Yeah, and I love the competition, John. The competition is what we strive on. So knowing the fact that we can represent, negotiate a better deal for our customers because of what we know within the community, within the location itself, is really our value add also. So,
right. Well, Rene, thank you so much for sharing your insights and stories today. For anyone looking to buy or sell in Ocala, especially in communities like Calista Township, Delwood, On Top of the World, or Stone Creek, Rene and his team and Next Generation Realty are truly the local experts. You can connect with Rene directly by visiting nextgenerationrealtyfl.com, or check the links in the show notes to follow him on social media. And if you're thinking about financing a home or getting pre-approved, I'd love to help you too. Visit dreamhomepodcast.com or contact me at CMG Home Loans to explore your options. Thanks for tuning in to Dream Home Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, share this episode, and we'll catch you next time as we help take on the next step towards your dream home. And Rene, thanks so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure today.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Dream Home Podcast, hosted by John Nagle. Ready to take the next step toward your dream home? Visit www.dreamhomepodcast.com for resources, tips, and expert advice. If you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe, leave a review, and join us next time for more real estate insights and mortgage tips. Until then, happy home hunting.